Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my 10-month update video. I know a lot of you people were looking forward to this update because I made a lot of updates in my previous video, which was about 2 months ago. That was my 8-month update video. Yeah, and in that update video I talked about how I was going to attempt to increase my reading in order to solidify a lot of grammar, really become more fluent with the way I think in Korean, and how I approach grammar. And I basically said in that I was going to try to read more with the assistance of like webtoons and Ollie Richards' short stories. So basically, I'm going to give an update video on how that went. Basically, the progress of where I'm at. I'm going to talk about some things that I've done differently, some goals for next month, and some general, side channel updates or little projects or whatever that I have for the YouTube channel. Anyway, so like usually these types of update videos, they're not going to be like my usual videos. These aren't going to be scripted or anything. So I'm just going to be thinking off the top of the head, just with some side notes. So one of the goals that I had in the previous update video, the 8-month video, which was about like 2 months ago now, believe it or not, time flies. One of the main updates that I had was to increase reading. Now, did I achieve this? Yes, I did. I've been reading a lot as of late, with the assistance of Ollie Richards short stories and Donga Kids news articles. And also, I got into some web novels recently, and also I continued, like I said, webtoons. And so I basically have been using that in order to basically increase my reading as of late. I also completed, like I said in my previous update video, I said that I wanted to get Yansei 2 out of the way since I was on Yansei 2. I knocked Yansei 2 out, and I'm currently in Yansei 3. And I like to talk about that a bit later on in the video about my feelings on Yansei and if I'm going to continue or not. So, don't want to keep this too long, but I think some things that I would have done differently before we get into that, actually, I would like to add one more thing about those goals, if I attained them or anything. So yeah, like I said, I achieved basically increasing my reading so far in Korean. Now, did this improve my comprehension of the grammar or anything? Yeah, it did. I'm still not perfect with grammar yet. There's still some things that I lack in, and there's still some beginner stuff every once in a while that comes up that sometimes I struggle with that I'm still trying to solidify. But overall, my grammar has increased. I can read longer sentences now and consistently understand them a lot better. That was one of the things I struggled with previously. Typically, I forgot the number I said. I think it was 10-word sentences or whatever, something like that. Sometimes I would lose the meaning or have trouble with that. Don't really have trouble with that anymore. I've also picked up KGIU, Korean Grammar and Use Intermediate, and that's been helping a lot. Got started with that, and basically how I study grammar directly is that I watch a video on it or I read the book, and in this case it's KGIU, Korean Grammar and Use, and I basically read through that, and I don't really study it, I just want to be aware of it, so when I immerse, I notice stuff, and it's when I notice something from KGIU, I almost immediately can't help but notice it in the real world, so it's pretty powerful and pretty effective, and I'm going to basically continue this for the future months to come. So, some things that I would have done differently in this endeavor is that I think I wish I would have focused more on doing webtoons more instead of moving into web novels. I think web novels are effective, but I really enjoy webtoons more. And sometimes, just to get reading in, I sometimes would be scattered in how I read, and I wouldn't have really a structure to when I would read. And I think I wish I would have done that more, because I think I would have been able to immerse better and get more I+1 sentences and better vocabulary that would be more suitable for everyday use. So yeah, I definitely probably would have done that a bit more. Not saying I didn't do it, but I probably would have done that a bit more. So overall, it's gone pretty well. One thing I would like to say though is that Donga Kids news articles, They're really on the advanced side because they're still news articles, but they're going to be a little bit more simplified than reading adult news articles. But they're still going to use a lot of jargon for kids. Not for kids, but they're going to use a lot of jargon so they can teach kids those newspaper or article words that adults are used to. And so sometimes that can be difficult. And you'll end up learning a lot of cool words, but a lot of those words you're going to find out probably aren't the best for you to learn as like a beginner. You probably want to learn more pragmatic or practical words. Yeah, so I wish I would have done that a bit more, I guess. Focused on, like I said, the webtoons and stuff that had more pragmatic words rather than like, reading like news articles. But nonetheless, it worked out in the end, and I feel that my my reading has improved. It's been a lot quicker, and I definitely have improved my grammar by far. So goals that I have for next month, I guess. So some of the goals I think that I have is basically I just wanna continue what I've been doing so far. I think I think what I've been doing so far has been helping, and like I said previously, I already know what I want to do differently, and I think me continuing this path and just like reading a bunch more, I think will definitely help. I notice a lot more grammar, and sometimes like it works as almost like a natural SRS. So some words that I know I'm going to see again, I don't even worry about adding into the SRS because I know I'll read them again and I'll remember them. One thing too is that Yansei. Yansei was great, but like Yansei is just like really all over the place sometimes, and it doesn't have like a lot of ease to it. It can be really tiring to read. And so now that I'm on Yansei 3 and I could finish Yansei 2, I don't know if I really want to continue Yansei 3. I was going to stop at Yansei 3 anyway, but like really, like I don't really care about Yansei that much anymore. I would much rather just continue reading, native Korean content, to be honest. I find it much more enjoyable, and I get like a lot of vocabulary and a lot of grammar from that. Maybe I'll touch on Yansei in the future, but Yansei right now is not my priority. I just want to read native content, and I think that's going to be more beneficial to me because what's the point of reading if it's not enjoyable, right? So you don't want to make this a strenuous process. So yeah, one of the other goals I have for next month is to really work on recall. Really make sure that my vocabulary is grounded. So like I have like a really high passive vocabulary, I guess. Most people do compared to their active vocabulary. And sometimes like when I'm like watching a show, everything is going pretty well because it's easier to recall vocabulary when you see it in context and to understand what you're watching, So this can give you the illusion that like your recall, in terms of output is like, really good. But in some cases it's not, because when it's time to think of a word on the spot or how you would say something IRL or in real life, sometimes your mind will draw a blank. Now, this is a normal phenomenon that happens with like a lot of language learners, and a lot of people just say you just need to take more time, take it easy, don't worry about outputting. It will happen naturally. Just keep immersing, and your mind will activate that vocabulary. And I think that's true, and that's pretty much what I'm going to try to focus on. Just continue reading, because reading has helped with my recall a lot. But I've been considering whether or not to switch to recall flashcards instead of just recognition flashcards, and I might see if that works. Because as a lot of you guys know, this year in May is when I'm going to start outputting, and I'll have big updates for that on the channel, which I'm really, really excited about. A lot planned. But yeah, I just want to make sure that during that time, I have like the most vocabulary active at that point, and it's not just passive. So I really want to make sure it's a quality video for you guys and quality for myself, because the whole point about learning a language is to output and communicate effectively. So yeah, that's pretty much what my goal is. Now, in terms of listening, a lot of you guys might ask, I think my listening is fine. As you guys may know who follow the channel and who follow me on Twitter, as you guys might know, I was interviewed by This Is Big Data a few days ago, and Big Data is like an amazing guy. I really, appreciate the work he does for the Korean community in terms of them learning English and for the Immersion Refold community as a whole. And it truly was an honor being interviewed by him. I thoroughly appreciated it. Yeah, in terms of, you guys might ask, like, on the side note, like one-on-one with you guys maybe like, a lot of you guys told me that you guys would have been intimidated and how calm I was, but to be honest with you, I kind of was nervous. And I think like my nervousness had to do with some of some of the miscommunication that happened sometimes. Like overall, like I was surprised by the amount of stuff I was able to understand. And this was due to him sometimes, like, he would, use an English word and pronounce it like in a Korean accent, besides using like the Korean word. And that happened like a couple of times, to the point where like sometimes he would do it for words like I already knew like the Korean form. I was like, you just need to use like, you can just use like the Korean word or whatever, because I know. Like he said plastic instead of like, he could have said like pine or whatever. Or like I think he said like paper, and I'm like, you could have just said jongi. But like, yeah. Overall, like with that, I think I was pretty surprised by my comprehension. Some of the things that, like, for example, that I messed up on, like, for example, in the interview, he asked me if I was nervous. And, like, I know the word for nervous or, like, having tension is, like, kijang. But for some reason, like, when I heard him, I don't know if this was due to being nervous or, the audio, or, like, whether or not, like, I just need to listen more. But I heard jijang instead of gijang. And so I don't know what happened there. But yeah, that was one of the miscommunications. Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with being nervous, but when I calmed down, the conversation went a lot more smoothly, and we were able to understand each other a lot clearer. So I'm not really too worried about my listening. And I just, the more words I learn, the more gaps get filled, and the better comprehension will be as a whole. So vocabulary, learning more vocabulary definitely helps with that. So I think my listening comprehension is all right for the most part. Definitely want to continue reading. Been playing a lot more video games as of late in Korean, and so as you can see, I'm playing Hollow Knight here. So the game doesn't have too much reading in it, but the reading in it is pretty nice. I really like the way it's written. It's very poetic, and has a very nice atmosphere to it. So yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on here. I definitely appreciate it being, like I said, being interviewed by Big Data. It was definitely fun. So yeah, and people who just don't be nervous, So if you ever have those things, just be confident in yourself and just calm down and just listen. That's the best thing you can do, is just listen and see what you can understand. And so that's basically what I did, and I'm surprised by what I was able to understand. And I was pretty embarrassed about some of the things that were that I didn't understand. So when I watched the video over again for immersion content, sometimes when I'm in a calmer state and I'm listening to the video again, I'm like, why didn't I understand that when I was being interviewed by him? Why did I have him repeat that? That was so obvious, what he was asking. That will happen, but you just got to move on. Let me tell you this, a lot of words that that I was shaky on or whatever, they got stronger, and I think they're active now because of that, because my mind has kind of forced myself on that word was important. You should have known that. And so that'll definitely happen for when you have experiences like this. So yeah, another goal that I have for next month is simply starting to basically get more into grammar study, and I really want to start doing Politan's idiomatic expressions deck. I currently finished all my main retro Anki decks for right now. I don't know if I'm going to continue with retro Anki decks in the future. I've just been using subs to SRS, and that's what I've been using. I'm trying to get a subs to SR deck for Naishie Ai, which is it's on Netflix. It's a Japanese movie, but it's dubbed and has subtitles in Korean, and the subtitles are accurate. Basically, I've been trying to get a subs to SRS deck for that movie, but it's been pretty hard. So, if anyone who watches this video can tell me how to get that subs to SRS deck, or can provide it for me, that would be much appreciated. So yeah, so like that's pretty much what my goal is, just to basically simplify everything. I have like one direct path to take. Just read more, just do more subs to SRS. Don't overcomplicate your immersion. You'll pretty much get there. That's pretty much what I've been doing. A lot of people have asked me whether or not, like, why I use single sentence cards. Me and like I think a few other people in the community, I think like Inner Cosmos, he's like in the LTI Discord. He uses single sentence cards. I use a combination of both. I use not single sentence, but I use single word cards and I use sentence cards as well. Typically, the sentence cards that I have are typically neighbor sentences, like from the dictionary, and they're like example sentences that pretty much use the word. They're not too complicated, but they're not too difficult either. So I basically just have those in my deck, and I also just have single word cards. And I basically just use that, and that personally for me is pretty effective because I just brute force on through it. And basically, when I see, basically they get solidified when I see them in my immersion because I already have that mental hook there. So yeah, for me, using a combination of both seems to be the most efficient way. You guys might differ, but I just wanted to clarify that for people who were curious. So no, I don't just use single word cards. I use a combination of both. And I find that for me to be a pretty effective strategy. So that's pretty much, don't have too many novel goals this month. Basically when I get closer to May is when I'm going to have some like really like novel goals, but as of right now, it's just continue on what I've been doing because that seems to be working, and I'm pretty excited. There's this webtoon that Cloudy Howdy recommended to me, which is pretty cool. I've been reading it a bit. I've read the first episode of it, but the webtoon is called Yoleb Chonsa, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. And basically, I read that, and the plot is pretty cool. There was this web novel is a little bit difficult than like Koroso Samshipun or anything like that, but it's one of the ways you have to progress is dealing with content that you're uncomfortable with. I've noticed that like if I start doing content that I'm uncomfortable with and I keep doing it consistently, the content becomes easier, and so I become familiar with the vocabulary and how the author basically communicates within the book. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do for this one. This one is definitely a top one that I'm going to be start doing. But yeah, I've been just reading more Koroso Samshipun as of late because I'm more used to that webtoon since I've been reading it more, and so it's kind of, like I said previously, it's kind of like an adjustment when you start getting into other webtoons sometimes. So yeah, and I'm going to finish out. I'm almost halfway through Ollie's intermediate book. Intermediate short stories book. Almost halfway through it. So my goal is to probably finish it, before May. That's probably my goal. And so it's not set in stone, but it's kind of like a goal that I have. So hopefully I can get it done, and then I can, prioritize more of my time to just like webtoons and more content that I'm interested in. Like, and I've noticed after like I've stopped, like I talked about this earlier, but just to harp back on it real quick, I've noticed that like once I stopped doing like Yansei, like I started to find that studying Korean again was like a little bit more enjoyable. It wasn't boring. You didn't have to like use an OCR or anything like that to copy like the text or do anything boring. I just read what I wanted, and when you read what you want, you find it's more enjoyable. And like Stephen Krashen puts it, you forget that like you're reading in like you're reading in your target language. It almost feels like, your native language. So yeah, so like I said, it's pretty much what's going on there in terms of like my goals and stuff like that. So basically I want to talk about my general updates and some stuff that I'm planning for every channel. One of the videos that I'm planning on doing after you guys watch this one is I want to start a challenge or a goal, and pretty much what I want to do there is I want to start doing what Not Satan recommends doing, which is in order to like increase like comprehension, how quickly you understand something in real time, like when you watch a video, I want to try speeding up the video, and I want to do that for a month and see if like my retention has increased or not. So I definitely want to keep you guys updated with that. let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I'd be willing to like do that as a challenge for you guys, and I'll be like doing like updates as the month goes on to see like how it's increased. Probably maybe weekly. Might do weekly updates. I'm thinking about whether or not to have them on my Twitter or have them on the main channel. So in case you guys you guys aren't like subscribed to my Twitter, make sure you subscribe to my Twitter and everything. Because I might do it on there, to not clog up, the main channel. Yeah, so that's pretty much one of the updates that I have. General updates for the channel is that like in May, one of the things, since May is going to be around the corner before we know it, and that's when I'm going to start outputting. How I'm planning on probably doing it, just talking with you guys, is that I might, I'm probably the first update video I'm going to make, this is a year update video. What are the things that I've learned? What are the things I've taken away? What are some goals for next year? An update like that. And probably after that, I want to do a native reading update. So I'm probably going to choose a novel or something to read, and I'm probably going to try reading that raw in Korean and then send it to other Koreans to critique. I want to do that, and then I'm going to have like a raw output session, which is going to suck so bad, but we're going to have it, and I'm looking forward to that. If you guys like have any suggestions, I'm probably going to have a poll on my Twitter about this, but if you guys have any suggestions, like so far, even though it's early, if you guys have any suggestions on content you want me to look at, the practice, outputting, to read, just let me know in the description, and I'll check it out. So yeah, so that's pretty much the goals I have for the channel. I'm really excited. I have some surprise videos coming up. Hopefully next week, maybe this week. I don't know. But, stay tuned for those. I'm really excited about those, and hopefully a lot of you guys will benefit from that. I really appreciate the support you guys give me on this channel, especially with like my tutorial or instructional videos for, the tools and methods that I use for like doing Korean. You guys really seem to like those, and so, I'm happy about that. I really had fun making the reading video, and a lot of you guys really took that video positively. Surprisingly, Ollie Richards' video, he made a similar video the day after that, and so my production quality isn't as good as his, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as you guys liked his video. So I'm glad I was able to help with that. So yeah, like I said, those are pretty much what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Sorry if there's a lot of uhs and stuttering. This video isn't like scripted or anything. Literally woke up this morning and wanted to get this update out and wanted to pull information from the top of my head and give it to you guys, a raw update. And so nothing super big has happened. Just wanted to let you know that there's, a lot of positive things coming down the line in terms of what I've been doing with reading. And so I just want to encourage guys to read more. So it's helped me with my grammar. It's helped me with like a lot of that type of stuff. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions, or if you guys want me to clarify anything, or if you guys want more information, just DM me on Twitter, or just ask me in the comment section of this video. Yeah. I wanted to talk about this. Yeah, so a lot of since I was on Big Data's channel, of course, Big Data. Now that channel's for like Koreans. Sorry about that. I had an alarm on my phone. So that channel is like designed for Koreans. So for learning English. And so a lot of Koreans who saw my video and saw my YouTube channel have come over here. So I've noticed that like on a lot of my videos, a lot of them, really want like, subtitles. So if you've noticed on like my previous videos, I've added English subtitles to those. I don't know if I'm going to, with like these update videos, like they tend to be raw and they tend to be like really long. So for the Koreans watching who are trying to like understand, what I'm saying and everything, I don't know if this video is going to have subtitles to it. Hopefully if I have time, I can add them, but these videos tend to be longer. But I will try for like all my videos that tend to be around like 10 minutes and things like that, like my instructional videos or things like that. I'm going to put like subtitles on those. So don't worry. Those are all going to have subtitles. So, so don't worry. And I know you guys like really, like listening to this kind of stuff. So I'm definitely going to make sure I take care of you guys as well. So yeah, so that's just what I wanted to give an update about. So if you guys like want to assist for my viewers, if you guys want to assist in like making subtitles for these videos, just let me know and I'll see what I can do to see if I can, let you guys make the subtitles and everything. So yeah, once again, like, thank you guys for like the support and everything. Get you an update video next month. So just take care, and peace.